I'm Sonya Morton-Firth and you're tuned in to the Sonya Morton-Firth Show. Today my guest is Cameron Else, ex-paratrooper and MMA fighter. After 10 years of hard work and sacrifice, Cameron made his debut in the UFC, the pinnacle of combat sports. He took the fight with 1 week's notice in lockdown and had to shed 22 pounds to make weight. Watch this interview to be inspired on how a dream shattered and defeat can make you stronger than ever before. Cameron, thank you so much for being a guest again on my show. I can't believe it's been over a year when we were together last. It was August 2019. It's gone so fast. So thank you for being here again.
I actually thought it was longer than that.
Oh, it was August last year.
Yeah, pretty good though, right?
Yeah, well, it was good back then. Don't know about now. Yeah. Although look where you've come. So since then, big news. You're now in the UFC.
Yep.
Before we go into the details of your debut fight, I'm dying to find out more about that. 10 years in the making. This hasn't been a short journey.
No.
But you always knew you were going to get there, didn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
How did you know that? Well, tell me about that.
So I've been, obviously since obviously announcing, obviously getting into the UFC and being around the whole 10-year thing, I've had more people dive in and ask me a question. And when I've actually sat back and really thought about it, how did I actually know I was going to get there? And I was explaining to a friend the other day that I just generally, I don't give up, and I've never given up on anything that I wanted to do. I just think it's in me. I can't give up. Someone has to take it away from me, and it be out of my power. But if I have any control over it, that means I can make it happen. So I don't ever look at things. If I want to do something or become something, I look at it and see it as I can do that. If they can do it, then why the fuck can't I?
Mm.
Language. So.
But I mean, you must have had low points or points 10 years. It's a long time.
Well, what I was actually saying, so I've always believed in myself because ultimately, I don't believe I've ever had anyone that believed in me. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much what's fueled me from a kid. I've my parents, my family, friends. I was a guy on the football pitch that wasn't the best football player, but more importantly, more so it was my parents never come watch me play football or do anything like that. So something I liked doing never come supported me. Other parents would always be there, so their son would play football, regardless if I was good or not good. I can't really say right now, because it was only me back then. But I never had anyone believe in me or watch me do something. So I always found that what I started to look for in life is I just want someone to believe in me. And ultimately, by me keep going out the door looking for someone to believe in me, it was always me believing in me. So I was like, how do I get someone to believe in me? I've got to show them hard work, dedication. So I've got to speak it and do it. So I'd go out there and do it. I believe in myself, tell people with confidence, I know I'll do it, I'll do this, I'll do that. And hoping that they hear me and then they'll be like, that's the perfect student, right? Because I was saying before to Ben that I will I'm the best student anyone could ask for. I'll give you 100% effort. I will always turn up. There could be a hurricane outside. If you've told me to meet me in the park at 10 a.m, if you ain't got hold of me to cancel the session, I'll be there strapped to a goalpost, waiting for you to turn up. I'm 100%. I'll never look for an easy way out. So for me, it's hello, coaches, anyone that believes in someone, why aren't you believing in me? So I think it was down to my self-belief that me just believing in me, eventually got me here.
Have you looked back at that and thought, actually, the fact that people didn't believe you in you back then has made you who you are today?
Yeah, I was, again, without everything that's happened in my life, ultimately, you wouldn't be in the position you are today. So
you might not be the fighter you are today.
So
you might have given up 4 years ago.
Exactly. So there's a lot of, I believe that my story is so special and so great because you always hear about people saying, believe in yourself. And often you'll get people that have made it and got successful and they did believe in themselves, but they've had a team behind them that believed in them. They had a good supportive family or a best friend or a nan or something that 100% was just like their fan, their. But I've never had any of that. So I think I speak for a lot of people who literally I've done this all purely for me, like only me. Like I can literally thank me and just be like, Cam, well done for not giving up on yourself. Like that's why it was really weird feeling of actually achieving it and getting it because.
How did you feel? Because they literally they told you really quickly before you had to.
Well, this is the thing. There was talks of me going back in the UFC in March
just before lockdown. Yeah.
But COVID kicked in. I got asked basically as like a standby to fight on the UFC London card. So I said yeah, sent my weight over. Then the show got cancelled the next day. I was like, opportunity.
How did you feel then? Because that must have felt like almost like you've done this for 10 years. You've actually finally got.
Yeah, it was gutting. It was gutting, but then my manager was like, "Look, we're going to be on the Contender Series in the summer." So I was like, "Sweet, like that's in my power." So when I get in that cage, I know I'll knock him out and I'll get my contract because you're not taking that from me because I'm in control. And then obviously the COVID stopped me from traveling to America, so I couldn't now go to America to fight. So at first it was like, can't actually train anywhere because England's locked down. But I was like, doesn't matter, it won't deny me. I'll turn up without no training and I'll win that contract. But then obviously I couldn't fly out there. So it's like, that's gone now. So I was like, great. And then it's like, UFC Fight Island, the first Fight Island come up. So then I get told, you fight Jack Shaw. And that was a week. And I was like, yeah, like done. And then they come back and tell me that fight's gone. It's not available. They've gone with someone else. So I was a bit gutted. And then my manager was like, oh, would you fight Nathaniel Wood? That's in 3 weeks. And I was like, 100%, like, let's do it. Like, that was actually better for me because I had 3 weeks to get my weight down. And I didn't get told to go to London and get my bloods and that done, ready, because it was pretty much guaranteed. And then it didn't happen. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, they didn't take the fight.
He pulled out, didn't he? Or
he didn't pull out because basically his opponent pulled out, so he gets offered fighters.
Yeah.
I got told he was offered me. He reckons he weren't. Whether him personally weren't told as a fighter and his coaches didn't give my name over, whether that happened, but all I know is that the UFC had told me that they gave my name, and it makes no sense to send me to get my bloods if you're not going to present my name to them. Especially when I know the UFC have been trying to get me in. So obviously, that pissed me off bad to the point where I wanted to just drive to London and bash Nathaniel up right there and then, because I'm like, you're stopping me from achieving something here.
Your dream, basically.
Yeah.
You're 10 years in the making.
I was frustrated, but then ultimately, it wasn't Nathaniel's fault. Let's just say it is his management and his team around him. They done right by him. Like, they went for the easier option. So it's a change for him, and he went off and got the win and that. But for me, it was just like, I started to hate a bit. But then I remembered, like, you can't, one thing I learned over the journey that I've been through over the 10 years is you can't concentrate on hate. Like, just get rid of it. And then you're still there, Cam, you're still fluctuating around. So then I was just like, right, head down, keep training hard. But then I was trying to train hard, but then I was then get told by my manager to stay ready. So I had to stay at a weight. So I stayed at a weight. But then you imagine like peaking for 4 or 5 weeks straight. So I was like doing pro boxing sparring with pro boxers like twice a week, and then doing kickboxing sparring with my other coach. I was just burning myself out. And then it got to a point, it weren't MMA sparring or anything. It was like just literally one to stand up. So again, as an MMA fighter, we need to be sparring MMA in a cage, wrestling, takedowns, mix it all up. So I then literally got through like all of August, and Fight Island basically come to an end in end of July, and I plodded on through August. And then I said to the manager, look, I'm going to have to take 2 weeks off or something because I've got tennis elbow, and I damaged my knuckle through boxing, and it was all swollen up, so I couldn't even punch. So I was like, I'm going to take 2 weeks off because Fight Island ain't till October now, because it's the second time they come back round.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to wait till September and then get back on training, try and train for that Fight Island, because I knew it was going to happen.
How was training though in lockdown? Because I mean, it must have been. It can't be your normal set of training, right?
The thing, yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but it was made a lot better by obviously being with the boxers and being with Jermaine. But it just wasn't enough. And then because of I then obviously had that time off at the end of August. I thought I'd just rest up my body. I'll come off my diet and let my body just go back to normal. And then I was meant to start from September back at the fight camp, but I needed longer than 2 weeks. And my tennis elbow just got so much worse, and my knuckle was so badly bruised. I couldn't like get that knuckle in. It was all like jammed up. So I was like to Maj, I was like, I can't actually spar or train or anything, but I'm just going to run and swim every morning. He's like, I just stick to that. So I just stayed that, because what I didn't want to do, I tried to then go back kickboxing sparring. As soon as I sparred, I threw a punch, I clipped the elbow, and it was like, took my glove off, hand swung back up. I was like, I'm going to get called up, and I'm going to fucking go in a broken hand. So it was very much like, it was getting closer to Fight Island, but I was having to do a lot less because my body was just breaking.
Yeah, you need to. So
then I was just like, it was frustrating, and then literally I was just thinking, right, just run, swim and that. And then I obviously got the phone call, and they were like, manager's like, right, you get signed to the UFC. It's like, oh, would you like to fight next week? I was like, yep.
And that's a week's notice, which really isn't much time at all, because you've got a cut in that time. And then for anyone that hasn't cut before or knows what that is, it's a pretty painful process of getting your body to the right weight.
Yeah, so yeah.
And normally, what would you have, 3 months or 3 weeks or
I'd have
6 weeks?
I made bantamweight. Put it this way, I made bantamweight in a week, so I lost 22 pounds in 1 week. Normally,
22 pounds in 1 week. Yeah. I mean, most people know how much that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, which normally I'd have 3 months to lose 20
pounds. So it can't be particularly healthy or good for your system just to suddenly lose that amount of
normally
weight.
I'd go into fight week £10 over, so I'd have a week to cut £10 easy.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to be a challenge.
But not only that, you had like the whole quarantine thing.
That's what really threw me off. I think, do you know what it was? Like, obviously I signed with them, and then if I could pick any debut, I'd pick all those conditions, and I'd do it again, because that's me. That's how I've lived my life. Like, I got to the UFC because I never say no. I fight anyone, providing I can make the weight. I'm there. There's no excuses. Like, I'm always the underdog because of the extreme measures I do to fight, and they always say like for short notices and that. And until that fight, it's always played off. I've always come out victorious in those scenarios. So for me, the perfect fight for me is a week notice, top 15 guy. Yeah, sweet. No, I'll go and knock him out. Like, my visualization for 10 years, I was always going to get to the UFC in my view.
Tell me about the visualization, because I think I've heard you talk about this before.
Yeah, I've always done it. I didn't know I used to do it. It's kind of like, when I think of it and I try and talk of it now, it's like having a magic power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like tell me.
So it's like having a sixth sense, and the reason why I say it's like, you don't know you got it because you're young and you don't know what's going on, but when you then discover it in a book down the line, and you're like, hang on a minute, it takes you back to a memory when shit like that happened to you, then you realise, hang on, I've been doing this before I even knew about it. So, and again, the visualisation come back to a time when I'd like finished training, and like I say, I was always on my own. So I remember I'd been up at the gym and I was having to cut weight for this fight, and I was so like, I was on my own, and I'll come out of the gym and I do not stop thinking about fighting. Like, there's not a day I don't go without watching fights. There's like, it's in me. So the moment I sign a fight and I'm fighting that guy, he's there, and he don't leave, and I think of everything. So I come out of the gym and I was driving home, I was picturing how I'm going to win. And I remember just like literally in my head just going through it, walking to the cage, getting in there and doing what I did in the cage and in the mic speech, and I just felt this energy come over when I was driving, and it was like the emotion was unbearable, and I just burst into tears.
Yeah, your body's actually reacting to a physical reaction because your brain is so powerful.
Exactly. So I at the time, I didn't like, I'd never cried as a kid. I was probably just called me a stone. So you get blood out of stone, don't you?
Why do you think you think about fighting all? I mean, people would probably listen to this and think, "Well, what the fuck? This guy just thinks about fighting all the time. What sort of a guy is that?" Is that, you know? And it's not because you're like some weird, like, psycho killer.
I honestly think it's because it was the thing that I could control most and show people how good I were. And it's not just a fight, it's everything that got me to the fight. Like the hard hours, the things that people don't see who don't train in combat sports and don't fight, they don't see the hours, the lonely trips to the gym. For me, like, again, going back to me believing in myself, it was only me. Like, I was speaking to one of my students the other day, I'm my own coach. Like, I didn't even realise it until now that I was the guy that set my alarm. I'm the one that made sure I got up. I'm in the pool at 5 a.m. And when I get in the pool, I don't get in the pool and just go for a little paddle. I am breaking my back.
Do little doggy paddles.
Yeah, I'm my own hype man. I'm like talking to myself. Come on, motherfucker, let's go. You got to be faster than this. Like, that should be a coach there doing that. And I never had that. So through me just always doing that, it's like just blossomed to now.
But it's in your makeup. Well, if you believe in this, and I'm a real believer in this, we've all got our individual values in life, and clearly fighting is yours. We're all different, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes you unique, and it usually comes from a void when you were younger. Like,
I think it is. I think the void in my life was I've never felt that anyone believed in me, and because of that, it's when I get to fight, I know, and I've had some really, in my experience getting to the UFC with promoters, I've had some really bad promoters who have done really shitty things to me, like things where they've tried anything possible to make me lose, and I've just managed to bite my tongue, get to the fucking cage,
what do you mean they've done
shut
anything?
the door.
Can you talk about it?
I'll save it for another time, but it's like, because ultimately I want to write a book and put in there exactly, but there's like it was an issue around Bellator when I was with them on how they treated me when I stepped up short notice to fly out there and fight Conor McGregor's teammate, Dylan Tuke at the time, and I knocked him out. But the things that they did, put it this way, they dilated my eyes on the day of the fight.
Dilate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. And for them to do that on the day before the fight.
How do they dilate?
They put this liquid in your eyes. So I had no vision for 5 hours, 6 hours. And I was on the way to the venue with no eyesight. And that's because of this doctor. But do you know what I mean? What I mean is that for me, it was always like, once that cage door shuts, doesn't matter now. I'm in control and I want to fuck this guy up, and that's what fueled me to just put the beatings.
So if we go back to the UFC, to Dubai and what happened there, the cage doors shut. Just before that moment, what was your mindset like as you were going into the cage?
So for this time, for the UFC, it was actually not what I wanted my mindset to be. And the only reason being is because every time I've always gone into the cage, I know how I'm approaching this fight. I know what I'm doing, because, for example, everyone knows I come out the gate flying, and I'm very high pace, very bloody, and it's very aggressive. This time on the way to the cage, I knew I'd suffered a really bad weight cut, so I also knew it was a week notice. And for me, it was like, I know that this guy would have studied me and his team, and they know that this guy comes up, he's knocked everyone out pretty much in the first round. All his wins are first round, 10 first round stoppages. So let's get him in a second or third. So I'm now thinking, right, do I come out and just ease off? And then basically just plod through the first round.
To give yourself energy.
Get through the second and then leave it all in the third. Should I just go out guns blazing? But I don't want to get tired like I've done in a previous fight where I've put everything into the first round. The referee saved the guy, and then I'm fatigued because of a bad weight cut, and then I die that way, like in the cage.
And you were massively depleted. You walked into that cage after no sleep.
Yeah, so.
And obviously losing 22 pounds in weight.
Yeah, so it was bad. First thing I'll say before I give reasons what affected the fight is that I'm not making an excuse for it. Like, you can't. It's the reason why it's not an excuse, and the reason why I won't use it as an excuse is because I knew that when I signed to fight this kid, I knew his level. I knew it was a week's notice. I knew that the side effects to it is a bad weight cut will have a massive effect on my performance. I knew that I just signed to the UFC. Like, everything that happened, I knew. Like, say there's a pad there, I could write it down. I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah.
So I'm not using it as an excuse. It's not an excuse. I'm not trying to find excuses why I lost. But in order to get over the loss, I had to sit down and write down the facts.
Yeah.
And the fact is, I took the final week's notice. I had achieved my childhood dream of becoming a UFC fighter. It took me 10 years, and that was such a big thing for me because of everything I've overcome. Like going on before about my self-belief, it was only me that believed in me. It was me that got myself up. So achieving that. Then it was the actual fact that I haven't MMA sparred or trained for over a year, which no one knew. Another factor, we quarantined on the Friday. I had to get COVID tested in London. Wait till my results come back Monday, so I wasn't allowed out of the house. So till my flight, and then fly to Dubai. I get there Tuesday night, and then I get told, right, you're in quarantine. You have to do another test. So I've done a test at like 1 o'clock in the morning. 12 hours later, I thought I'd be allowed that. No, you've got to go for another test and back to your room for another 12 hours. So that brought it like 48 hours. And then obviously, because it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, it's then I had to stay there till the next morning until I was allowed out of my room. So then finally I come out of the room, bearing in mind, I flew in on the fight week on the Tuesday. I was fighting on the Saturday. The water load held a lot of water on my body, made my weight cut more difficult. Being locked in my hotel room and not being able to run. I'm a runner. I run every day, period. 5 miles, 3 miles.
Yeah, and that helps your mind as well, right?
So I couldn't do none of that. And it was also new to me, dealing with the whole, I hadn't even really took on board yet the UFC thing. So that's another factor that this was happening. The weight was not coming off. I was looking at it, bloody hell. And the day I was allowed out, I literally jumped on the bike, we cycled to the beach, and we had to come back and start thinking about the weight. And then on the day where I had to cut the weight, I didn't want to start the day before because otherwise it'd be like, it'll work out. If I started the day before the weigh-ins, then that night I'm not sleeping at all.
And you haven't been eating.
Yeah, and I hadn't been eating, so I like to get a good night's sleep. So I woke up at 6 a.m. and I started my cut, and I was 12 pound over. So I'd cut weight from the day they said offered me to fight. From that day I was 22 pound. Fast forward pretty much to the day of the weigh-ins, I've now got 12 pound a cut. So I cut 12 pound throughout the day, finished about 3:30, and it was after the weigh-in. We weighed in, faced off with the guy, and I started getting like real bad pain. But it's like I needed a toilet, and this gets a bit dirty now.
Go on, you can say anything.
But basically, yeah, I had. You can't use the toilet because you ain't got no fibre in you, so you can't go for number two. Yeah. But I felt like I needed to, and it was really weird. And then I went, and it was like bloody.
Oh my God.
And I was a bit like,
okay, shit.
That's
not good.
I messaged someone, I won't say who, but someone who could help me. And I was like, look, a bit fucked up really, this happened, and my kidneys were really hurting. So that's when I knew I pushed my body to the limit.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to him and said, right, try and get fluid in you. So I put fluid in me, and then I still felt like I need to go for number two again. So I'd go, but it was just water coming out. But it wasn't diarrhea. It was just like the fluid was coming out of my rear end instead of my front.
Yeah.
So then I end up taking a tablet that helps basically stop me from going to the toilet so I could start holding stuff. So I knew I was in deep waters then.
Yeah, your body's not.
So that obviously had an effect on my performance. And then the next day, so bearing in mind that night I couldn't really sleep. So I've lost out. That night I didn't get no sleep. I woke up fight day, and then I'm fighting now at 7 a.m. Sunday morning. So when I woke up Saturday, which is technically fight day, it's not. So I thought in my head, oh, that's fine. I'll just do my day as we did. And then when it comes around to 8 o'clock at night, I'll go to bed. And because I didn't sleep the night before, I'll be able to sleep right the way through. And I'll just wake up because back home in England, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I go swimming at 6. So I'm like, wake up at 5 a.m.
Body clock,
go beat someone up at 7 a.m. Perfect. For me, it's perfect. But then, bearing in mind, it got around to 8 p.m. My coach next to me, he's like, bang, sleep, snoring like a rhino. And there's me just wide awake now thinking of everything. Then it hit me about, oh, you're a UFC fighter now. So that started to come into play. And then it was like, I'm bored. It's like 11 o'clock. I've not stopped thinking about all the emotions that I normally...
literally, what was going through your mind? I mean, I know what it's not. I mean, I didn't sleep last night, and your mind just goes through...
Do you know what I realised was all the emotions I'd get over an 8-week fight camp, but all now crammed into this one night. I was literally sitting there thinking of, the fight goes this way, that way, that way, whenever I don't perform, whenever I embarrass myself. Like, these are just natural things that always come in your head throughout fight camp. But I'm one of these that the closer I get to the fight, the more of an animal I become, and the more I get closer to the cage. A bit like there's a famous video of Mike Tyson. He's saying how he's so scared, but he gets closer to the ring. He becomes an animal. He looks at his opponent, and then basically by he's there head to head, he's ready to kill. But he shits it the whole way there.
Yeah.
So mine's kind of like that throughout my whole fight camp. But I have like, I get offered a fight. When I find out the guy said yes, straight away it worries me a little bit. In my head, I go, hang on, you fucking got the bollocks to step to me. He said, as me. And I give myself 24 hours, and then I'm pissed. And then I'm pissed off. Now you think you're going to disrespect me. Now I've got 8 weeks, and now come this week, like there's none of this emotion. So all this emotion was going on. And then I started going on my Facebook and my Instagram, trying to reply to messages. Because another thing, I'm now signed to the UFC. I didn't want to look arrogant. I didn't want to look like, oh, look, he's a user, can't reply to me. So shit I shouldn't be worrying about or even thinking about. But because I was alone and I'm in that zone on my own and I was trying to deal with things, I was like, oh, I could just respond. And then there's a couple of messages that I see and I didn't really like the way people put it across. And people sending me bet slips. That don't really bother me because people always win on me. But it was just like, just fuck off for a minute. Like, I just needed to take a zone out, but I couldn't. And then I'm looking at the time and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm tired, but I ain't going to sleep. It's when it's 5 a.m. So I'd technically really been up nearly 48 hours straight. And then I'm off to the venue. So I go to the venue, and then when I got in the venue, I felt fine. Hip pads warmed up, everything's fine. Hadn't really sunk in I was a UFC fighter yet. Got my shorts and names on the shorts. I walk out to the venue. As I walk out, feels great. Get to the pit. They vass me up. I'm like, yeah, good. But on the way to the cage, that's when I was thinking, how am I going to approach this fight? Like, do I go hard? Do I go not? I shouldn't be thinking this.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm not a fighter, but I guess your mindset's got to be solid and really.
Yeah, so
really
with an 8-week camp, we sorted out a game plan. I know what I'm fucking doing.
What was your coach there with you?
Yeah, coach there, but they all said how it would go. We all knew that I'd come out, and as soon as I lay one hand on him, he ain't gonna want to stand. He's meant to be a stand-up fighter, but we're getting shooting. And the aim was, as soon as he takes me down, I'll just smash him on the floor because that is my strength. Like, no one beats me on the floor, especially in MMA when I get to punch him. So in my mind, it was like, well, probably takes me down. So the whole game plan was hit him, here rush in, and then we beat him up on the floor. So then when I got into the cage, I did notice as I started to get towards the cage, my legs started feeling heavy. And I remember back in the early days fighting, it's called an adrenaline dunk, and I started to feel that effect. And then when I got in the cage, I see the big monster sign on the floor, the logo, and it's like, okay, I'm a UFC fighter. Fuck, I'm here. I'm here. I look around and I see like the commentators, like Dana White again, and all them, and I'm like, all right, I'm here. This is the main card. Everyone's watching. Let's fucking knock this guy out, man. So I always said in my head, yeah, I'm going to knock him out. And then I just thought to myself, stop overthinking it, man. You just hit him. Just hit him. He's going out. And then we come out, and obviously, through a couple of leg kicks, I knew it was happening because I've seen that before in my visualization of him and watching him. He always comes out, throws a couple of low kicks. I checked the third, knew it hurt him. And then I knew then he comes with his spinny stuff, and I saw that. I was like, yeah, fuck off, you ain't doing that. Yeah. And then tried to do a flying knee, just ducked under that. Looked at him, had him on the fence, threw a couple of feints. I could see he was scared. He was just like anticipating getting hit.
Yeah, you look strong at the.
As soon as I hit him, his corner went, "Don't fuck with his power." And then my coaches were like, "He didn't like that," and I was like, "All right, now I've got his attention." And then bang, he just fucking hit a double. He took me down, and I'm not even joking. When he took me down, I just felt like everything leave my body. I was about to say,
so because I watched it, when he was there on top of you.
He took me down, and honestly, I went to like bump him off. No, in fact, I did bridge him. I swept him straight away, but that took so much out of me. I did generally I felt like fucking hell.
At what point did you think, fuck, I've lost this?
I didn't think I lost this. I never ever in my mind think I lost this. I just thought, fuck that, it's gonna be a bit of a long night. I'll just wait for him to give it time and then I'll bang him. It made literally that calm and that collective. It made, and that's why if you look back at it, never once did I look panicked or worried or scared or hurt because I weren't. But in my mind, I was just talking to myself, in fucking, it's like a little monkey jumping over me, and I can't keep up with him, like because he was, and I could feel myself. Like easiest way to explain it, like I was saying earlier, if you've got if you go and train chest tonight, do a heavy chest session, next 2 days your chest is burnt. You can't go lift any weights. So obviously from the weight cut, my body's fatigued.
Yeah.
So now I was like, after I bruised him, it was like that was the last bit of my real like explosiveness. And anyone knows that trains me that they can't hold me down. I'll get out. I'm really explosive with my hips and that. So when I did that and I exploded and I went for the choke, and then I remember thinking I heard a klaxon for some reason, but it weren't. I thought it was a 10 seconds. So I kind of just like build it out on the floor, thinking, oh, whatever. He's not going to do it. I think. And he started like, he landed to cut the shots, cut their elbows. I'm thinking, this is a long 10 seconds. And I'm like, that wasn't a 10-second klaxon. So I'm kind of like, but you know what I mean? In my mind, I'm just thinking about everything else instead of just kill this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like normally I'm just kill. Like I don't care about the time. I don't want no time. I just want to get you. I want to just inflict as much pain and damage as I can. But I weren't in that. And then I'm thinking, right, the round finished. I remember getting up to my knees and I remember just thinking, I just sat there for a second. I was just like, I've got to fucking bang him. Right, maybe I'll hold off in a second and empty it all in the third, because then I know there's not another round. So I can just give it all, but I didn't want to empty it all in the second, him to avoid punishment, because we are remembering here that he's at the elite level and he's been training 6 months, so he's fully conditioned. So if he just needs to defend for a round, he could probably just defend. And if I'm just gassing everything, then
you're going to kill yourself, yourself out.
And then I end up thinking I'm going to look stupid or whatnot. So I then get up, and then I remember going back to my corner, and I was just, that's when I knew like looking back on it now, I didn't even pay attention to my corner, because I was just thinking like,
were you out of it at that point?
I was out, yeah.
Because the commentator said that it looked like you'd been badly hit, and that you were like...
Yeah, so it's so funny. It is frustrating listening to the commentators talk like, oh, he looked like he got caught or hurt it. There was no pain. I was just in my head, I'm thinking, fuck. Like, the game plan was to get him to fucking feel the power, take me down and smash him. That ain't worked. So what have I really got to come up now? So it was kind of like, and then I knew that I was thinking, right, how much just connect with him before. And I, like, the round's gone, I'm coming out, gonna put it on him. He took me down. And then when I was on the floor, again, I never once felt like I'm in danger, he's gonna submit me. He'd never submit me. So in my head, it was like, he's gonna do whatever, I can just roll. He took my back, I wasn't really bothered. In my head, I'm thinking, the ref turned around and said, defend. When you take someone's back, the only place you can strike is here and here. So when I defend like this, that's intelligently defending. I'm like, he can just try and punch and that. And then I kept moving. But then he hit me with 2 elbows in the back of the head. And that's illegal. And I'm not, like, at the time, I remember thinking, you know, and I heard the ref say, I want to stop the fight. And then the ref just stopped it. And I wanted to, are you fucking kidding me, Mark? Come on, man. Like, it's my UFC debut. I'm not hurt. I'm not beating up. I'm not bleeding. Like, it's not like it's ground and pound me. It's like, oh, this is getting too much to watch. So I didn't know why in my head he stopped. And then he got a bit cocky. He was like, oh, where you at, boy, like that? And for a split second, I was just going to turn around and fucking bang him. Like, I was just going to whack him right again. But I remembered what happened before with a fighter a long time ago in the UFC. He done that. He punched someone after the bell and he got kicked out. Okay. Never been allowed back. So I just calmed down, and I remembered at the end of the day, this kid's enjoying his moment. Leave him. And I just left it. And then I wanted to say like, fuck that, that's an early stoppage. But then I didn't want to look like the bad sport. Oh, look, he's coming a week's notice. I didn't want to leave a bad impression on all the UFC staff and think, no, why is this kid going off? He's just, because ultimately, I felt like death during the fight. Yeah. I did inside, I felt awful. And I was that embarrassed because how I felt inside, I felt like I was on the outside. It must have been terrible to watch and look at. So all of that was in my head. And then we got back, and then my corner were like, no, you look well, man. You look strong. But you can tell, like, the cut's like, done you. And I was like, yeah. And even coming back after, I didn't want to watch my fight back on TV because I was embarrassed. And then my coach messaged me, and he was like, watch it, bruv. It's fucking a lot better than you think. And then when I watched it, I'm actually like, oh, I actually was so much worse inside, body, feeling aching and all that, than actually what I was putting out there. And that actually looked all right. And I did it out there. And then I had loads of people message me going, bruv, that was stopped way too early in that. So it's like, there is only, I'm glad other people have said it, not just me. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, going back to obviously the main point, was that I look at all of these now, and I sit down and I put down all the factors. I know my next fight, them factors I've just ticked off. It's not like I've got to go work on my boxing or my grappling because that's been exposed, like for whatever. That nothing's been exposed apart from my doing of taking the fight. Like they were all going to bed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and getting up at 10 o'clock at night and staying up all night. I should have been doing that.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's you were like you couldn't prepare the way they prepared. So you weren't in the best physical condition because of the circumstances.
Yeah, ultimately, on paper, on the night, on the fight, he was better than me. For a shadow of doubt, he was a better fighter than me. At the end of the day, it's a fight, and he was the better fighter. He won.
But the question, I guess, that I'd say next is, how do you, because, that was your dream, 10 years, dream in the making, you got to the UFC, and essentially you lost.
One thing that Cowboy taught me...
Who's Cowboy?
Cowboy Cerrone, UFC absolute legend, one of my good friends. I live with him in America. He's always said to me, you have 24 hours, cry, shed your tears, feel sorry for yourself. After that, brush yourself down and get back on the horse. So I finished the fight. The reason why I was upset is, and crying, because I fucking hate losing. And I mean what I'm about to say now, 100%. If I got a phone call and they go to me, can you fight Khabib next week? And I go, yeah, because I'd say yeah. I would look on the paper and I'd say, look at Khabib's fight. And I've already, I study a lot of fights anyway, I'm just obsessed with it. So I think I found every way how to beat someone. And I know one way of saying I'm going to beat Khabib, yeah? Because I know that one way, I now 110% fully believe in myself that I'm going to go out and smash Khabib on a week's notice with no training. Now, to the world, it's like, no, you're a fucking lunatic. And people won't get why I cry and I get upset after. It's because I genuinely believe that. My feeling towards that, I genuinely thought I was going to...
But the very fact that you have that genuine belief is what makes you the
where
contender.
I am today, yeah. So, that's why I was upset after the fight. And people can something like, mate, it's like... My coach Jermaine, he put it in a good way. He said, brother, it was wrong for you to win, if you was to win. Look at it this way. He said, this guy's been training for 3 months, fight camp, his fight pulled out. He didn't jump back in another fight camp for 3 months. He's been training with guys who are on the same fight card. He's in a full-time facility in America. He's done everything, sacrificed everything. You've been sitting at home on your couch, not really training, not doing much, and you expect to come in here and just knock out this guy.
Get a week's call.
On a week's call. It's not fair. He said, look at it that way. He said, so the odds were against you. And a strong factor that the UFC pointed out to me was that they worked out the statistics. So if you was to take a week's notice fight in the UFC on 1 week's notice, only 8% chance you'll win. That's how the level. 8%. So I was playing with 8%. But yeah, I was upset. Ran the pool. My coach got a bit upset. Neto, he actually mentioned to me that as I was walking out to the cage, he was crying behind me.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah, and I was like, why? And he was like, basically said, obviously I'm his first student in the UFC. And then he reminded me of me and saying, mate, you've always been the biggest believer out of my team. You always say, I'm going to do this. You always said it. You've never not. You've always carried yourself like you're already there. And to see you actually fulfill your dream, put these UFC gloves on, he said, you've inspired me so much. You've made me want to get back in the cage. I'm so proud of you. And he was just a big, and I was like, okay. And then I spoke to them and I said why I'm upset. And one of the reasons were, like I say, my visualization has always come out on top. But this time it was a different ending. And I'd never pictured that. So it was hard, but then you just have to move on.
And how do you, because I haven't been in your position in terms of a fight, but I've been there where I really think I'm going to get something, I'm going to do something, and I put everything into it, and then I haven't got it for whatever reason, or something's happened. And it's taken me a while to sort of get over it and to get back on. And a little part of me is chipped away.
Yeah.
And I hate that, because I hate that it's like, why should it chip away at you? You should come back stronger. What would your advice be to? Because you don't seem like a part of you's chipped away unless you're.
No, it used to be. That's what led me into a bad state of depression and that, because I felt like I said, going back to my childhood, I never had anyone believe in me. So then, when things didn't go my way and I meant to, it's are they right? Are they not? Does it eat away at you? And it's only me going through life and learning. No matter what, you have to overcome it, and discovering books and stuff maybe acknowledging is better, but the easiest way that one thing that I keep saying now to my students is people need to stop making excuses why they can't go and do something they said they're going to do, and start making every fucking excuse to do it. Like, find the excuse to get yourself there. If you say you're going to train tonight when you finish work, and you're feeling tired, instead of making up excuses and going, oh, well, I've worked hard today, I've got to get up and that, you're finding every excuse now to make it okay for you not to go to the gym. Fuck that. Change the way you think. Find every excuse why you have to go to the gym tonight. When your friends say, oh, this and that, no, you find that one excuse. Well, a little hour here, half hour, I need to do this. I said, if you change that way of thinking, I promise you, you will become the greatest version of you. If people start making more excuses to why they've got to do something instead of to why they can't do something, they achieve great things. So I've always, without me even putting it into that content before, I've always done that, but now I can pull it into that little quote and people can really feed off it. So I always got offered short notice fights and always got, right, here's a big risk for you here. This guy's been training, you're going to step in, weight above, I'm beating Bellator, right, fight him. Yeah, fucking do it. Because I'd sit down and write a bit of paper and write every reason why I shouldn't do it. And there'd always be 20, 30 reasons why you shouldn't take this fight or do this thing. But then I'd sit there and go, right, forget about that now, Cam. Think of one reason why you should do this. Once I've got that one reason on paper, that takes out all those 20. Knocks them down. Jenga, bomb, got ya. I'm now going in. Balls deep, straight in. You know? So I'll go in. And now, like with that fight, there was 20 odd reasons, as I mentioned earlier, why I shouldn't have took that fight. But there's one reason. If I'd gone in there and knocked him out in one round, not only did I get signed on a week, cut all that weight. Imagine all this stuff now that I'm giving you. Imagine absolutely. If I find out now, can he went through all that and he's still
you'd
done
be like,
that.
you'd be exactly.
Do you know what I mean? They'd be like, people are like, oh, this guy's the future. Like
exactly.
Like
so there's a reason that you didn't. Obviously, there's lots of reasons that you talked about.
Yeah. So when I now look at that, I'm like, my excuse was, I get out there. They didn't tell me. You're going to the main card. We're having you on the main card. You're not on the prelims. I was top prelim. Like, out of all the prelims, I was prelim of the night. I was the main event on the prelims. So to come in on a week's notice and then to Dana White turn around and say to me after Wayne's, we've been trying to get you for a long time, Cam. Like, we're glad you're here. We see all the ups and downs, but you're here. I'm a big fan. Everything you bring to the cage, you're the fighter that I look for. Like, to hear like him saying and say, like, you're going to be on my, if you don't know now, you know, and Dana White released it on his Instagram and top me on that top bill and say, this is the fight, this is potential fight of the night. Cameron's got, like, hearing all of that, imagine if I then come out and done it, like, it would have been, the reward was amazing. And now I look at it after, I go back to my list and how I get over this loss, I look back at all those things that were wrong and I shouldn't have took it. And I look at them and I go, what can I control out of all them? What is in my control? Every one of them. Like, next fight, that's gone. Yeah. Like, all of them factors are gone now. I'm not going to do a stupid weight cut. I'm now going to be training full-time properly like I were. That got me to the UFC. I'm not going to do, I'm not going to turn up 4 or 5 days before the fight and expect to acclimatise and time difference. Like, there's so many, all them are gone. So now you've got back to the real Cam Cheetah, the real version. I mean, the person who's been on a 6-fight win streak, the person that's knocked out or stopped every person in the first round that he's won, when he's won. Like, now that Cameron's coming into the cage on my next UFC fight, and that's what the fans will get to see. And this had to happen to me. I look at it now like, this makes for a better story. It's fueled me even more. Like, I've already had my UFC debut, so next time I go in there, I ain't go, oh, what's it going to be like putting the gloves on, walking, seeing the monster? I've done it all. So now I just take all that. And I know that in my life, and I said to my fans in that, you know when you ride with me, you're in for one hell of a ride. You're going to have some highs, you're going to have some lows. But it's going to be a fucking roller coaster that you've never been on before. So this isn't the end of me. It's not like, I don't look and think, oh, I've got 8 years left.
No, you're going to win the bigger fight. You've got something bigger.
100%.
Massive. And I mean, I'm a big believer in fate and reasons, and obviously you do the tit list. But yeah, you've lost that fight for a reason.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, other than the...
Do you know what it is? Like, it's mad to think that ultimately, like, but you've always won short notice fights. I've always been training. Like, training 4 times a day in America. Yeah, I went in a fight camp, but to get asked to fight, went up a weight. Yeah, I didn't have to cut no weight. So I couldn't make lower weight, but they needed someone to fight at a high weight. Yeah, it's not a problem because I'm at that weight. So of course, like I delivered on the fight and it always went my way because I was training. But this time I didn't train at all for a year.
So what's your biggest lesson that you've taken from this?
My biggest lesson I've taken from this was I am a real fighter because many people didn't want it. Many people wouldn't take it. I generally went in there with the fact that I would smash this guy, and that's the fighter in me. Like I'm so real and in touch with myself. At this age of my life now, and this stage in my life, I know who the real Cam is. Like for many years, I lied to myself because I was dealing with demons and I was like had a lot of shit going on.
What were the demons that you're dealing with?
Just like ever since I came out of the army, I went into like severe depression and just hid it from the world. Like I was always known as a tough kid, so I had to like just deal with it that way, and it ended up taking me to a real dark patch and a place where I hit rock bottom. And at the time I hated it, but now I'm so grateful for it. My brother used to say to me, "When you come out of this, you are gonna be so thankful," and I am.
Stronger,
because
tougher.
I believe that the seeds we plant today, we reap the rewards in about 2 years, 3 years turnaround. So what I was doing, I was planting, I had my patch and I was planting my seeds, but I was also planting some bad seeds with it, the negative vibes with the positives. So yeah, I was getting real good highs, but I was getting real shit lows because I wasn't carrying my life fully that way. I was holding on to hate, I was holding on to anger for people. I wanted to hurt people who had hurt me. So by a famous quote I'll see, and it always hits me, and I think it's from a Buddha, drinking, carrying hate for your things, but drinking poison, expecting them to burn. Right?
It was, yeah, I think was it Nelson Mandela that said the point the snake? Anyway,
something like that. But I'm not, and it was like it's so right. Like if you're holding on to hate and negative energy, like if I'm hating and I'm slagging someone off and I'm hating, all right, he's over there somewhere on the other side of the weather. They're not.
He's got the benefit. He's got the upper hand.
Yeah, I'm the one that's suffering. So there was loads of stuff, and then when I hit rock bottom, I realised, and that's when I like discovered the books, and then I discovered the positive energy, and I need to cut all negative energy out. So then I had to I relayed my seeds in 2018, and I believe literally it was 2018 October to January, February. I went through the darkest time of my life where I didn't think I was going to be here. And I got through it, and it's a short amount of time when I look at it now. At the time, it felt like forever, but it is a short amount of time. But I managed to come out at the end of that, discover a book, and then snap the fuck out.
So actually, let's draw a parallel on where people are today, because people are watching this. We're about to go into another lockdown, suffering with mental health, illness, people contemplating suicide. What helped you get out of that place? Is there anything?
Do you know what? I've started putting together a charity called Fight the Demon for mental health. I honestly believe that I've come up with the correct formula to prevent mental health. I believe that my charity and my formula of how I help people deal with mental health and get out of suicidal thoughts and stuff like that is going to be the biggest global breakthrough in mental health.
Wow, can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can give you a bit about it. So Fight the Demon, for me, I can tell you exactly what it is because I ain't got to tell the formula because no one knows it. Yeah, you could use it.
I could use it.
But basically, I honestly believe, and before anyone asks, no, I've got no degree in psychiatry or any bullshit like that to say I'm qualified to help people on paper. Yeah. But I've been through it. I've been through the lowest.
That's the best qualification you can have, right?
I've tried to do it myself. I've sculled a bottle of whiskey, took 11 Valium, fuck it, whatever, I seen goddamn. Like, I've done that, yeah, and I went for a stage where I got to a point where I was in America and I wanted to literally, I didn't even want to turn up training because like the demons in my head was just fucking me up, and I thought I'd just kill myself today, and that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't because I made a promise to my son on that, like there was a surprise coming because I had a holiday booked, but that's where I got to, and no one even knew I was at that stage of wanting to do that because it was such a weird feeling going on, but when I got to rock bottom, actual rock bottom, which was 2018, summer, I started getting those suicide visions, and it come round. I hit rock bottom in October to say January time where I was there. But one thing I learned is, this is what I believe in suicide. I believe that every person that commits suicide doesn't actually want to commit suicide. What it is you subconsciously think about it continuously. Oh, I'll do it, and you go for that walk. You pick that tree. The next time you go for the walk, you hang off that branch. Next time you go, you put the rope around the branch. Subconsciously, you're just putting there because it's too late. You're gone. All right. So I believe that subconsciously we go there. Nobody wants to fucking die, like actually die. As much as they say they do, like we don't want to. But subconsciously, if you keep thinking something, keep telling yourself something time and time again, you end up acting. How many times have you done something and you've realised, fucking hell, I can't remember what I've done. But I've just done that.
Yeah,
or,
the more you do
how many
something,
times have you got in your car?
A habit, becomes an action, becomes
how many
a way
times
of
you've
life.
got in your car and drove home and then realised that you've gone through 3 traffic lights, but you can't actually remember if they're red or green. Like subconsciously, you just react, and the more we put in our brains, the more we just react towards it. So what I found was, the problem. There was helplines for me. There were people, Man's Club. They say, I'm depressed, motherfuckers. I don't want to talk to no one. I don't want you to know that I'm suicidal. I don't want people, because people look at me like I'm some fucking big tough guy, don't have these thoughts, don't have all that. No, I'm human, I'm just like everyone else. And I was dealing with it, keeping it closed, but ultimately for me, I had to find, why is it getting worse, and why is there no cure? I'll tell you why, because nobody wants to ring, telephone, and speak to someone that they've never met. Oh, but I'll speak to you on the phone. And no one wants to go into a man's club and sit there and go, oh yeah, let's sit here and I'm just going to tell you about me. No thanks, don't want to do that. Just keep it to myself, I'll do it myself. So for me, and then psychiatrists and that, what's it take? Just off the top of my head, let's say it takes 4 or 5 years. I don't know the exact amount of years, but it takes 4 or 5 years, say, for them to become qualified to be able to sit in a room for 1 hour with someone. I'm sorry, but the amount of psychiatrists coming through to the amount of numbers that need people sitting in the room, you're completely outnumbered.
Yeah.
There's 100,000 people, let's just say 100,000 people a month wanting to commit suicide and sit down and
Probably
talk to someone.
Probably a lot more now.
A lot more. But now we've got one psychiatrist, or we got
one trained counsellor.
Let's say in England we've got 5,000 psychiatrists coming through now. 5,000. But you've got over, now by the time you full qualified over 5 years, like you're just completely against it. And it doesn't matter how many helplines. It's not working. So we need to come up with something that works. And what I've come up with is, what leads you to depression is you not identifying your inner demon. And every person that watches this and every person in day-to-day life has a demon. And the reason why I call it the demon, and I say like fight the demon, because I'm not in competition with the man opposite me in the cage. I found this out ages ago. I'm not in competition with anyone in life. I'm in competition with myself. Yeah. I'm in competition with the man in my head, the person that tries to make an excuse for me not to go to the gym tonight. So
I fight against myself all day. Absolutely.
But this is what I'm saying. Like,
oh my God, you are spot on with that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a negative energy and it's a positive energy, right? So if you don't achieve a goal or don't set out something to do, you feel shit. You feel down.
I beat myself up the most.
Exactly. So ultimately, let's just say, the easiest way I explain it to my students and people I work with, like life coaching, like one-to-one, what we've got to do, we've got to stop setting ourselves up to fail. We've got to actually identify the inner demon that we think's our friend, but it's actually not. And it's a simple task. And I honestly believe what leads us to depression is our own mindset. And I honestly believe that if I don't get you to identify your demon and actually understand what little things you can change, it changes your whole day and your outlook to be a positive day, and you're in a good mood the whole time. But one bad thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. You've had a real shit day. Okay, so what I do is identify your demon. I can bring it out, get you to identify it, and the more you identify, the more you realise how many times it comes to play, the more you can actually go, hang on, no, piss off, you're not winning today, you've almost got me to not do that assignment. I need to do it, because if not, I'm going to be in trouble. All right, so you get it done. No, I'm going to iron the thing because I need to start off tomorrow in a good way. It's Monday morning, I need to be positive.
I'm going to go to the gym because
that's it. I'm going to do it because I said I'm going to do it. If you're going to say you're going to do it, you do it. So that's what I basically That's what my thing is. And my thing is, when you hit rock bottom, it's too late. Let me tell you something now. When you hit rock bottom, it's not survival of the fittest or anything like that, but the only person that's going to pull your ass out of rock bottom is you.
Yeah.
No counsellor, no fucking helpline. Like, that's not working. I hate when they say, oh, there's an after school club, go and have a chat here. No one knows. Listen, how many times have you seen someone commit suicide and you're like, no one knew? He seems so happy. He was taking a picture with his kids and that.
Exactly.
Hiding it. So we are not going to be...
It's the silent ones you've got to worry about. It's not the ones that are talking, because the ones that are talking have got a more confident about...
What we need to understand is that it's not about helplines. That we are not going to be able to give people magic powers to identify, are you okay? Yeah, I'm really good, man. Just loving life. No, hang on, I've got magic power. No, he's actually really suffering. We don't know. You're never going to know. So what we need to do is stop them from going into that negative way. Yeah. And how we stop them is by identifying the voice that automatically sends us there. So I've come up with a formula that I do certain things to get you to actually train against. I've set you through a challenge where I will find something that your inner demon will be loud as hell in your head, and you'll be like, nah, not today, and you'll beat him. And the more challenges you do and you beat the demon, you're identifying the demon. And that's why I'm starting it out called Fight the Demon, because it will literally stop people from going.
Well, I'm looking forward to you talking to me after the show about how to discover the demons, although I know my demons. If someone wants to find out more about that, have you got a website or links, or if they want to find out more?
Currently at the minute on Instagram, Project Combat Westbrook is a thing that I've been putting together in my hometown. Fight the Demon HQ is going to be there. That's going to be headquarters. But other than that, just keep on my Instagram and that, because I'll be looking to...
And we'll put that link on you.
I'll be looking forward to it. Like I say, for me, I know it's going to be the biggest breakthrough. Like, there's setup that I've got for... Do you know, like they do November?
Yeah.
It's October.
Yeah.
There'll be Fight the Demon month. That'll be around the world where people will raise money for Fight the Demon.
And
it will become the biggest thing going.
I love your passion. I love the fact that you see so big and you know where you're going. What's next? Future... I mean, look, 2020, let's forget 2021.
2021, I will rewrite my beginning in the UFC with a dominant performance.
Who do you want to fight first?
I'd love to stand in and just like call out people, but I respect work that's done. At the end of the day, I lost that fight. I don't have the right to sit here and start calling who I want. But after I beat whoever they put in front of me next, there'll be names I'll be calling. And I honestly, without a shadow of doubt, I'll be the UFC champion within 2 years.
UFC champion?
Yeah, 100%. And to everyone, I know, look, the people didn't believe I'd get to the UFC. Now they believe. I can't be in the UFC and not believe I'm not going to be the world champ.
I think you've got exactly the right mindset.
Do you know what I mean? I know that I have the tool set to beat anyone. I actually believe that the top 10 is easier than the entry to the top 10. So I know that I rack up a few wins and I handpick meaning I call people out and say I want you, and there ain't going to be no one behind me, it'll be people in front of me. And I know stylistically I'm a nightmare for them. And I honestly, I was saying before to a friend that my self-belief and my visualisation, there was always that 10% doubt because I had so many ups and downs where I wanted to get, because it hasn't happened yet. So you kind of think, why is this happening to me? You kind of not believe that 10%. But I'd rather keep going until I say they pull it away from me, because then I can go, right, well, I didn't give up, it got pulled away. But now that 10% of doubt has been fulfilled. I've made the UFC.
Yeah,
I've done it. I'm here.
Absolutely.
So now I realise, hang on a minute, it 100% works. So now I'm going into the next stage of my career now with 100% belief in my hard work, dedication and commitment, which will no doubt take me to UFC gold.
On that note, which I'm sitting here thinking, right, I want you to fight because you're going to win. On that note, my last question, and I asked you this the last time, and I remember your answer, but I'm not going to tell you that this time. If you were to write a message in a bottle for future generations to find, what would that message be?
Believe in yourself, believe in your future, and then I'd say start finding, instead of making excuses not to do something, find every excuse you can to do it, and you'll achieve your self-greatness.
Love it. Cam, thank you so much for being a guest
No
on my
worries.
show, and I look forward to the next time.
Yeah, 100%.
Cheers.
Next time I have a belt. on my
Yeah,
shoulder,
exactly.
But yeah, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, there's a new interview out every Monday, so hit subscribe and like, and you'll get it straight into your inbox.